Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of congregational humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. Thank you for joining us.
All of our readings today are taken from Wall Kimmerer's book, The Serviceberry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World. The book reads as her personal reflections as she fills a bucket with service berries, which are also called Saskatoons or Juneberries. This passage introduces the concept of a gift economy. In a traditional Anishinaabe economy, the land is the source of all goods and services, which are distributed in a kind of gift exchange. One life is given in support of another. The focus is on supporting the good of the people, not just the individual. Receiving a gift from the land is coupled to attached responsibilities of sharing, respect, reciprocity, and gratitude. This kind of gratitude is so much more than a polite thank you, not an automatic ritual of manners, but a recognition of indebtedness that can stop you in your tracks. It brings you the realization that your life is nurtured from the body of Mother Earth. With my fingers sticky with berry juice, I'm reminded that my life is contingent upon the lives of others, without whom I simply would not exist. Water is life, food is life, soil is life, and they become our lives through the paired miracles of photosynthesis and respiration. All that we need to live flows through the land. It is not an empty metaphor that we call her Mother Earth. Food in our mouth is the thread that connects us in relationship, simultaneously spiritual and physical, as our bodies get fed and our spirits nourished by a sense of belonging, which is the most vital of foods. I have no claim to these berries, and yet here they are in my bucket, a gift. This pail of Juneberries represents hundreds of gift exchanges that led up to my blue-stained fingers. The maples who gave their leaves to the soil, the countless invertebrates and microbes who exchange nutrients and energy to build the humus in which a serviceberry seed could take root. The cedar waxwing who dropped the seed, the sun, the rain, the early spring flies who pollinated the flowers, the farmer who wielded the shovel to tenderly settle the seedlings. They are all parts of the gift exchange by which everyone gets what they need.
All flourishing is mutual. This is the epitaph at the beginning of Kimmerer's book. All flourishing is mutual. Assuming we can actually grasp what that means, I wonder if we can believe it in our bones. All flourishing is mutual. My original intention for today was to do a kind of state of the congregation message, trying to sum up what I have witnessed to be FUS's gifts and challenges, with the hope of offering you some paths toward more healthy relationships and systems. I will still do that a bit, but when I decided to use the serviceberry as inspiration, my focus shifted. Now my intent is to use the many descriptions of nature's ecology and economy from this book to paint a picture of a vision you might adopt for yourselves as individuals, of course, but also for the whole picture of who this congregation is and could become. A gift economy, as described by Kimmerer, is one in which gratitude, reciprocity, and relationships are the currencies. My challenge to you is that you take the gift economy concept not just as something to appreciate what happens as what happens in the natural world, but as an actual practiced way of living. Humanism Humanism, to be worth its salt, cannot be just a set of intellectual concepts and values. Humanism, to be of any value, must be a way of being in relationship with the natural world and with the whole human community, a relationship that constantly brings us face to face with questions about who we are and questions about what we're going to do to serve the flourishing of all. Humanism, if it is to make a difference, must humbly embrace the whole of what it means to be human, head, heart, and spirit. That is, whole human beings who struggle and make mistakes, whole human beings with different ways of seeing the world, whole human beings who engage in community because none of us can do it alone. All of us need all of us to make it. I like to imagine that this little book was written as Kimmerer picked berries, and that as each berry fell into her pail, she offered gratitude for its beauty and for its sweetness, and that as the bucket filled, she began to wonder about what she was meant to do with all of this abundance. How might she offer gratitude for the sweetness? What could she give back? How could she become part of a stream of reciprocity? How was it that her worldview as an Indigenous person was asking of her?
Robin Wall Kimmerer, in her book The Service Berry, muses on the cycles of reciprocity in nature, a system that is honored and mimicked in native cultures, and a system that she believes provides great inspiration for human existence. Here's another passage from the book. Materials like carbon and nitrogen and phosphorus, the essential elements of life, cycle through an ecosystem, endlessly changing form as they are passed along. Let's follow the carbon in the serviceberry tree. The leaves draw carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which they make into sugar via the mechanism of photosynthesis. The gift of the atmosphere now resides in the berry. When the cedar waxwing gobbles it up, some of that carbon become the feathers that paint a yellow band on the tail which flashes in the afternoon light. When that feather falls to the ground, it becomes food for beetles, who become food for a vole, whose death feeds the soil, who feeds the serviceberry seedling just germinating at the edge of the woods. Material moves through ecosystems in a circular economy and is constantly transformed. Abundance is created by recycling, by reciprocity. The serviceberries show us another model, one based on reciprocity rather than accumulation, where wealth and security come from the quality of our relationships, not from the illusion of self-sufficiency. Without gift relationships with bees and birds, the serviceberries would disappear from the planet. Even if they hoarded abundance, perching atop the wealth ladder, they would not save themselves from the fate of extinction if their partners did not share in that abundance. Hoarding won't save us either. All flourishing is mutual.
I happened upon a sermon this week that was delivered to Canadian Unitarians by my friend and colleague, Reverend Sean Gauthier, who serves the Vancouver Unitarians. He began this way, and I quote, "Maybe you have seen this too. For the past few months, there's been a quote circulating on social media. Everyone wants a village. No one wants to be a villager." The idea being that we're all longing for the gifts of community, the blessings and benefits that come with belonging, but that we humans are often less inclined to actually put in the effort to bring these gifts into being. Everyone wants a village. Not everyone wants to do the work involved, unquote. Maybe we can put this into the framework of serviceberries. Everyone wants the bucket of berries. Everyone wants to enjoy the end product, the pie. Not everyone wants to pick the berries or to do it in a way that leaves some for the birds and for the deer, or to make the pie, or for that matter, to share the pickings in any way. Now, I know that I have a rather unfortunate tendency to be the little red hen. This was an ethos that was part of my large family, which taught me that if you want to have any dinner, you have to help make it. And while that continues too often to be my response, it is really no longer what I believe. You see, it's not as narrow as that. It's not a quid pro quo that creates a direct relationship between those who picked the berries or rolled out the crust or washed the dishes and those who get to eat that singular pie. For all to flourish mutually, we have to see the interdependent web as something much, much larger. All those things have to happen, of course. Picking, making the crust, washing up. Of course, they have to happen for there to be a pie to share. But maybe that pie goes to those who come to our second Sunday meal. Or maybe those berries fill the buckets of farmers who will share them with the local food shelf or sell them in the farmer's market. Maybe rolling out the dough is learning a skill from our elders. The pie I eat might have been made from berries picked by a migrant worker far away from home, someone I'll never meet. To participate in mutual flourishing, we must build relationships by exchanging the currencies of gratitude and reciprocity. Not one-to-one necessarily, but by giving where we can, so that the gift economy keeps on flourishing, flowing freely, nourishing everywhere and everyone that it touches.
Kimmerer offers many stories of real-life examples in her community. In one story, she tells of a table laid out under a maple tree in a front yard on which sit canning jars with stalks of bright gladiolas, a stack of zucchini, a basket of new red potatoes, and a sign that says, "Free." She writes, "Is this an economy? I think it is, a system of redistribution of wealth based on abundance and the pleasure of sharing. Someone says, I have more than I need, so I offer it to you. Giving begets giving, and the gift stays in motion." Can we imagine a system which nurtures a different economic identity and reclaim ourselves as neighbors with a shared investment in mutual well-being? Libraries, parks, trails, and cultural landscapes we regard as public goods, they are what we call common resources, meant to be shared and cared for by the people who use them. They become possible when we pool our excess dollars in the form of taxes for the common good. We grumble about paying taxes, but in essence, this legal obligation is, ideally, an investment in collective care, in commons. In another example, Kimmerer tells of a farmer who invited her neighbors to come pick service berries for free. Polly has a reputation to uphold for being no nonsense in her approach to life, so she qualifies her explanation. It's not really altruism, she insists. An investment in community always comes back to you in some way. Maybe people who come for service berries will come back for sunflowers and then for the blueberries. Sure, it's a gift, but it's also good marketing. The gift builds relationships, and that's always a good thing. That's what we produce here, relationship with each other and with the farm.
So let's imagine that free farm table that is FUS. That metaphorical table is laden with bounty and it overflows. You know, perhaps you arrived here thanks to the people who crafted and sent out the Friday update. And when you got to the door, friendly folks welcomed you. You received something you needed, free for the taking. There's hot coffee and tea on an actual table, and then there are comfortable chairs to sit in, here because of the hard work of a design team and the financial contributions of many. Free for the taking. There's programming for your children led by staff and volunteers who simply love our kids, and beautiful music and a thought-provoking message, hopefully, and the ability to live stream from home. This too is all free for the taking. And then there are the actual tables set out for the mini meal that follows, which of course only happens because volunteers show up early to cook and others stay later to clean up, and others who give generously some money to make this all happen. Our doors are open and welcome. All is here to be taken for free. It's a beautiful image, this overflowing, abundant table. And yet none of it happens magically, and none of it alone would be enough to create the village that is FUS. So let's consider our individual relationship with this community, looking back over time or maybe even just for today. Is it a reciprocal relationship? Are we offering gratitude for all that we receive? What if sometimes we showed up not to take, but to help restock the table? I'm sure you've heard that on a bell curve of community engagement, there are about 20% who actively and enthusiastically show up. They make the place tick. And then there's also about another 20% who either are unable to or choose not to help in that way. That leaves about 60% who presumably are sort of engaged, or at least they show up sometimes. Now, I know that many in this room are part of that active 20%. Thank you. But imagine what FUS could be or could do in the world if even a small number of that middle 60% upped their game just a little. That is, if more people entered that stream of reciprocity, imagine what could happen. Today, a few folks stepped up to read who have never done it before. A variety of musicians are offering music. A couple new staff people, Bug and Sarah, are here beginning to build relationships. Maybe you're here for the first time and are contributing your presence, which is really a gift to all of us. Maybe you greeted someone you'd not met before and will be able to call them by name next week. We can each show up to set an abundant table for others. And everything that you do to give back or to pay forward matters. It could be as small as putting a greeting in the YouTube chat so that others who are watching online feel welcome. It could be as large as regularly volunteering to wash dishes, or maybe even to serve as board chair. You could decide to sing in the choir or to show up for programming offered by our social justice teams. You could participate in a seasonal celebrations program. You could pull weeds in the garden. There are a myriad of ways to be one of the ones who help to lay out that table for others. And of course, sometimes we just need to be fed. The world of reciprocity always has to include the hungry. Berries need to be picked and eaten for more berries to grow. There are many, many ways for us to be gifts to one another and to the world in an economy that values gratitude and relationship. The web of existence is large and has room for all. And when the hungry are fed, those who are not hungry also benefit, because all flourishing is mutual.
We've all been there, yeah. If this beautiful little book does anything, it causes one to pause and to imagine a different way, a gift economy in which gratitude and reciprocity are the currencies. Here are more of Kimmerer's words. Note that some of what I will share comes from an article in Emergence magazine and not from the book itself. To name the world as gift is to feel one's membership in the web of reciprocity. It makes you happy, and it makes you accountable. Conceiving of something as a gift changes your relationship to it in a profound way, even though the physical makeup of the thing has not changed. This is the power of gift thinking. In the presence of such gifts, gratitude is the intuitive first response. Gratitude is the thread that connects us in a deep relationship, simultaneously physical and spiritual, as our bodies are fed and spirits are nourished by the sense of belonging, which is the most vital of foods. Gratitude creates a sense of abundance, the knowing that you have what you need. And if our first response is gratitude, then our second is reciprocity, to give a gift in return. I cherish the notion of the gift economy, that we might back away from the grinding system, which reduces everything to a commodity and leaves most of us bereft of what we really want, a sense of belonging and relationship and purpose and beauty, which can never be commoditized. I want to be a part of a system in which wealth means having enough to share. Regenerative economies that reciprocate the gift are the path forward, to replenish the possibility of mutual flourishing for birds and berries and people. We need an economy that shares the gifts of the earth, following the lead of our oldest teachers, the plants. They invite us all into the circle to give our human gifts in return for all we are given. How will we answer?
Were you maybe zinged by the line that zinged me? That when everything is reduced to a commodity, when we ask what we get out of giving, it leaves us bereft of what we really want, a sense of belonging and relationship and purpose and beauty, things that can never be commoditized. At our best, In whatever communities we inhabit, when we are at our best, I believe that we are creating places and spaces of belonging and purpose, places of beauty, places of relationship. We're in the business of relationship. So with our pail full of berries, what are we to do with our abundance? You know, from the outside and maybe also from within, FUS is seen as a wealthy community. You have a beautiful building in a safe, even posh neighborhood. You have a foundation that has a store of money to get FUS through hard times and to offer grants for special projects to partner organizations. You have this incredible staff team who, to a person, love working here and with each other and who consistently do great work. You have a solid contingent of dedicated volunteers who for years and years have shown up to help whenever they're needed. FUS has abundance. And Kimmerer says that in a gift economy, wealth is understood as having enough to share. Wealth is understood as having enough to share, and status is determined not by how much one accumulates, but by how much one gives away. So what are we to do with our wealth? As I've said, mutuality is not quid pro quo, and the web of interdependence is much larger than any one-to-one exchange. Like the flapping of butterfly wings, sharing our abundance of time or talent or treasure, sharing anywhere in whatever ways possible contributes to mutual flourishing here and way beyond these walls. I'm sure you've heard the adage that we sit in the shade of trees we did not plant and we drink from wells we did not dig. Someone planted those trees and dug those wells knowing that someday, somewhere, someone would benefit. What are we today to do with our abundance? Maybe we could think of FUS as a laboratory of mutuality. Not a closed system where everything that's given within its walls stays within its walls, but as a perfect place to practice gratitude and generosity and to learn how to participate in a reciprocal relationship with all that is, a place where there are opportunities to both give and to receive. This is how we live and how we build relationships, which are another key currency in gift economy. Relationships are really the only way to nurture communal and mutual well-being, and FUS could be such a place where the focus is on we rather than I, and where we grow in understanding that sharing, that reciprocity, creates abundance for everyone. Kimmerer writes that there is abundant empirical evidence attesting to the fact that when we are not coerced by outside forces, we humans lean as much toward cooperation and generosity as we do toward self-interest. When we're not coerced. Imagine if FUS could be a place that offered a space that counterbalanced all the outside forces of greed and individualism, so that we could grow and become, in Kimmerer's words, empathic, mutualist humans. Empathic, mutualist humans. Personally, I'd like to be that. And I want to be part of a community that supports my becoming that. Creating empathic, mutualist humans would make a great mission statement. At one point in her book, Kimmerer wonders, if the sun is the source of flow in the economy of nature, what is the sun of the human gift economy, the source that constantly replenishes the flow of gifts? Maybe it's love, she says. Maybe it's love. Love is at the center of Unitarian Universalism. Love is what guides our humanism. Out of love, we show up to replenish the flow, to lay out a table of welcome and belonging. And these currencies, love, gratitude, generosity, kindness, these are infinitely renewable resources that we can both share and receive. Not only are they renewable, they multiply each time we practice them. Love, gratitude, generosity, kindness. All flourishing is mutual. May it be so for FUS on this day and in all the days to come.
Thanks for listening. You can find much more about humanism and what's happening at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis by visiting our website at firstunitarian.org.